The year was 2005. Midtown, the really solid emo or pop punk band, dissolved after putting out 3 awesome albums over the course of the last 5 years. The group's frontman, first-generation Uruguayan immigrant Gabe Saporta, was unsure of where his career was going to go after that. So he traveled to the deserts of Arizona on a vision quest, where he hung out with Native Americans and smoked a lot of peyote. It was here that he came up with the idea to start a band with a brand new sound. A sound unlike anything that came before or anything that's come since. A band that made emo-adjacent music it was also impossible not to dance to, and a band that simultaneously sounds ahead of its time while still being an iconic relic of the scene era, a band called Cobra Starship. Now, this band is frickin' insane. The bold use of neon colors and the fashion choices, fusing guitar with the keytar makes for a perfect electronic rock double threat, and the unexpected integration of hip-hop and R&B elements makes Cobra Starship one of a kind. They really had an all-star lineup, featuring the talents of scene legend Vicky T, drummer extraordinaire Nate Navarro, bassist Alex Suarez, and guitarist Ryland Blackington, and Gabe Saporta will always be one of my favorite frontmen ever. Sure, Cobra Starship only had 2 real hits, their music is pretty cheesy, and statistically speaking, their name is virtually unknown to most teenagers in 2025, but I'd personally argue they're one of the best bands ever. But before we dive into this video, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the Geek Gossip. My name is Jack, and please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications, and join me down below in the comments to let me know what your thoughts on Cobra Starship are, or some other topics you'd like to see us cover in future videos. Now, with all that out of the way, let's dive right in. The first reason that I think Cobra Starship is absolutely awesome is... Now, something a lot of bands struggled with in the late 2000s and early 2010s was building albums worth of songs that all had really individualized identities. Because when you had all these scene-encompassed rock movements going on at once, like pop punk, metalcore, emo, neon pop punk, and crunkcore, musical styles got very segregated and formulaic, and there's times you'll listen to full albums from that time period and literally every song will sound the same. But Cobra Starship, on the other hand, avoided this entirely by leaning into different elements of their sound with each song they put out. Let's take a look at their first album, While the City Sleeps, We Rule the Streets, which I personally still consider to be their best work. The first time I listened to this album was in my freshman year history class when I was writing a paper on the Mexican Revolution, and I loved the album so much that I listened to it twice, back to back, in the same class period. That's how jam-packed it is with bangers. Each track on this record's got a different vibe. It starts out with a lo-fi analog acoustic ballad. It kicks into a high-energy atmospheric dance tune, goes into some badass rock riffs, mellows out, gets creepy, grooves a little bit, spices things back up with a literal action movie theme song that's got Travie frickin' McCoy on it. It gets super funky and electronical, throws in some classic angst, and then ends with the single greatest breakup song ever recorded. And each and every one of these tracks has some kind of catchy as hell chorus, or something distinct about the beat that's unlike anything else on the record. Cobra's followed this album up with 2 more amazing works of musical genius, and also Nightshades, which we'll talk about later, but in the meantime, Viva La Cobra and Hot Mess are both incredible albums. Viva La Cobra was actually produced by Fall Out Boy frontman Patrick Stump, and his style really shines through with the overall energy of the record. There's multiple songs where you can hear him in the background vocals too, which is pretty cool. The songs are all super fun and energetic, and there's some pretty creative instrumentation overall. The big classic from this album is the song Guilty Pleasure, which rules, but my favorite track on it is definitely Kiss My Sass. It's really cool for how it blends chiptune instrumentals with R&B vocal harmonies, and the aforementioned Travie McCoy from Gym Class Heroes lays down some awesome bars on it as well. Then there's the third album, Hot Mess, which is equally as awesome as Viva La Cobra. This record, of course, has the quintessential Cobra Starship song, the absolute bop that is Good Girls Go Bad. The first time I heard this song, it's like I had a third eye that had been closed my whole life, but it finally opened up. From the enchanting intro to the explosive beat drops to that phenomenal breakdown, this is a song I just wanted injected in my veins. Gabe and Leighton's voices sound so incredible together, and they really fit into the instruments to create this impenetrable wall of sound. One of the producers on here was the absolutely legendary, immensely underrated rap rocker Kevin Rudolph, and his style is very much on display with the song's perfectly calibrated electronic party rock momentum. Then they followed that up with Nightshades, which I personally don't like as much as the first two albums, but it's still got some catchy tunes, even if it doesn't lean into the rock elements nearly as much, and there's some cool features on there from Mac Miller, Icona Pop, and even Shaggy. And it did get Cobra's a hit out of that with the song You Make Me Feel That. Lyrically, too, this band's got buckets of talent. On the surface, their songs just seem like basic party hits, but when you dig below that, Cobra Starship made songs about a lot of things. The World Has Its Shine is an incredible power ballad about losing faith in the universe before finding that one person who inspires you to hold on. Fold Your Hands, Child is a powerfully somber song about grappling with the struggles of your perception of the world maturing as you age. Then there's this one song, Prostitution is the World's Oldest Profession, and I, dear madam, am a professional, and that's about... well, I'm sure you can figure that out. But in all honesty, a lot of these songs with their lyrics are weird as hell, and it really takes several listens to really realize what these songs mean, which is one of my favorite things about music because at the end of the day, it's not that far off from poetry, and what would poetry be without a little speculation? Now, with a band like Cobra Starship, it's about a lot more than the music. You also gotta take into account the aesthetic, and with the aesthetic always comes... Quick side note, we're all familiar with synthwave, a big aesthetic and music genre that exaggerates a lot of the 80s popular culture styles through amplifying it with these almost sort of cyberpunk, modern, and more futuristic sensibilities. Now, Cobra Starship are kind of the unsung heroes of synthwave pioneering. Different elements of their sound, whether that be the confidence of the synthesizers and the steady machine-like nature of the beats, aren't that far off from the electronic aesthetic of 80s synth pop.
And we just started listening to like stuff we kind of like heard growing up, like Depeche Mode and other stuff, and like going into more new wave. So, you know, and a lot of other stuff was happening at the time too. LCD Sound System was happening at the time. A lot of like that New York influence was coming into Cobras, and I said I want to do something that marries that and where it came from.
And the way they were able to blend that with the pop punk, emo rock, and dance pop styles that were popular of their time fits right in with that retro modern style that helps define synthwave as a movement. Another place where Cobra's influence as a stylistic melting pot can be seen is with their fashion, which had an immeasurable influence on the scene movement. Now, for those of you who don't know, considering all the scenesters of the MySpace era are all in their 20s and 30s now, scene kids were basically emos who like to party, if that makes sense. Same hairstyles, same energy, but instead of stereotypically dressing in black, there'd be some bright neon colors worked in. And a lot of their music was wicked danceable. No band is a clearer distinction from scene and emo than Cobra Starship, as Gabe Saporta really showed that there were cooler places than Hot Topic to shop for alternative swag. Gabe was really into the new rave style and the Harajuku street fashion, and by doing so, he introduced a whole new aspect to the scene canon, normalizing bright colors and neon you wouldn't expect to see at a prime MCR show. He introduced a lot more glamorous aspects to this world as well, often rocking scarves, slim brazers, metallic accessories, flashy sneakers, and tight jeans, encouraging scene kids to move away from the more baggy-clothed skater dude pop punk narrative of the time and sort of embrace some flamboyance. When I hear someone say pop punk or emo or crunkcore, there's a very kind of stereotypical style that pops into my mind. But fashionably, Cobra Starship is such a distinct band that you can't really throw them under any of these umbrellas. There's no band that sounds like Cobra Starship, there's no band that looks like Cobra Starship, and there's no band that hits like Cobra Starship, which is why the next thing I'm going to talk about is the... Cobra Starship is a paradoxically important music group in the sense that they were both retro, up to speed with the trends of their era, and also ahead of their time in a lot of ways. They were a blast to the past. With their electronic style and brightly colored fashion sense, they perfectly channeled that vulnerability-spiked teen rebellion of the pop-punk era that allowed them to resonate with countless scene kids and tour with emo bands. And as a lot of modern rock-adjacent music has been infusing an electronic party style along with that same rebellious spirit, it's not impossible Cobra Starship could make a comeback. In 2015, Cobra Starship Starship broke up because Gabe decided he had accomplished all he set out to do with the band, but 9 years later, he changed his mind, bringing them back for When We Were Young in 2024, doing select shows after that, which is super cool, and I'm hoping they announce an actual full-on tour because I would absolutely love to see them live someday. In complete honesty, Cobra Starship is one of my favorite bands ever. They just make that kind of music that helps me feel better whenever I'm in a rut, or calm down whenever I'm stressed out, and Gabe Saporta is definitely one of my heroes. If you've never heard of this band, or maybe you have heard of them and have never gone out of your way to check them out, I totally recommend diving right into their discography, starting with the first album. Sure, there's a lot of pop punk bands. Sure, there's a lot of emo bands, and there's a lot of crunkcore bands, but in the middle of all of that, there's only one Cobra Starship, and there's ever only gonna be one Cobra Starship. And it's the genre-bending music like this that I'm really happy exists. Alrighty, so that's gonna have to wrap it up for another video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, if you're new to the channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications, and join me down below in the comments. What'd you think of this video? Are you curious to check out Cobra Starship? And if you're a fan, what'd you think of my takes? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear absolutely everything you'd have to say about this video or about this band. Once again, that's gonna have to wrap it up. Thanks again so much for watching. Until next time, I will see you on the flip side. Bangs up!
When I say Cobra, you say